Welcome to Let's Talk Games. The episode that answers the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, which is episode 42.
Oh.
My name is Dan, the man in the middle, Uncle Chunt.
Hit me. Hi.
And the traveller on the other side of the world, Jamie.
Who's been nowhere for months.
You're in the UK. We don't want you going anywhere.
Yeah.
Fairly true, that is.
Well, it's another week, boys. We got some news to get through and a short episode to do it in. So, Jamie, why don't you tell us what you've been playing this week?
Because it's nothing but video games. All I've played this week is a bit of Genshin Impact, actually. I played 2 rounds of Battlefront 2, just because Chunt got me thinking about it over Christmas, saying that he was buying it. I was like, oh, it's in Game Pass, I'll install that. And then the round countdown timer was just doing my head in. I was sat there waiting for this to count down. It counts down from a minute. And then if someone leaves the lobby, it's like looking for players, and then the minute countdown starts again. And I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm going back to Genshin Impact, where I got D-Luke, which is for anybody who plays Genshin Impact, as I said to you guys, that is like opening a red Charizard. Charizard is red, sorry. A Charizard Pokemon card. Obviously he's red. He's all fire and stuff. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And D-Luke is a fire character as well, so very, very good anecdote. That's all I've played.
Nice.
That is my video games. What about next person?
Battlefront, Chunt, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I've had to stop playing it. Basically, the campaign. I started the campaign with you control the droid and free whatever her name is, and as soon as you take control of whatever her name is, I was like, I have to stop this because it looks so pretty, and what I'm playing on isn't doing it justice. So I'm going to stop playing it until I get my new TV, so I can really just take full advantage and enjoy it as it's meant to look. So far, I'm really having a good time with it, man. I played a lot of the arcade stuff. I did there's like 3 different, I can't remember, arcade modes. There's all these things that you have to do. Just constant battles. I don't know if they were connected in any reason, but I just kept playing them until I finished them. And I had a lot of fun with that. Got to play all the characters, so I've got the Celebration Edition, so all the characters are there, and I can run around as the Emperor or Darth Maul and just hacking up dudes. So that was fun. I'm severely disappointed at the lack of what's his name, Qui-Gon Jinn in this game. I don't know why he's not in it.
Is he not?
No, he's not. So
no, not Qui-Gon.
No, so I'm disappointed in that. Just ruined the whole game. But yeah, so I stopped playing that because I just want to enjoy it as is. So I've gone back to playing Dragon Ball Fighters because I forgot there's a story mode on it that I started and just stopped playing it because it was boring as shit. So I say it's boring as shit, not because of the story content. It's a typical Dragon Ball Z saga kind of thing. But you got to keep fighting all these clones of characters, and it's repetitive as hell. And you're on like a board game kind of map where you got to find I've been just trying to find the quickest route to the boss of that level instead of fighting like 5 or 6 different sets of clones. The first arc that I finished, I had like 59 fights in it, and you have to beat like 2 or 3 characters per fight. So I was getting really over it, and I'm on the 3rd last arc now, which I was playing before we were setting up here, just trying to get through it. The story I'm enjoying. It's how I'm getting through it is the annoying part, but it's beautiful. It looks like I'm playing the show. It's incredible. I love it. And that's all I've been doing all week. That's the only game besides Animal Crossing that I've been playing.
Still playing Animal.
Well,
yeah,
I only got in
half an hour a day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Small doses. Everything in moderation, including Animal Crossing. So I managed to just get a couple of games of Madden in this week. Everything after work just seemed to take up most of my night, and then it'd be 9:30, and I'm like, as soon as I start something, I have to freaking go to bed. So I ended up just not doing anything. So just a Madden, little bit. NFL playoffs are happening, so that's kind of what has my attention at the moment. But let's move into the first topic, and the first topic is just named Nintendo because there's a lot of Nintendo stuff this week. For a little highlight, we got the Mario Switch, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury, as well as talk about Zelda's 35th anniversary this year. So we might start off with the Switch. Chunt, give me your thoughts on that red and blue piece of mastery.
Yeah, it looks good, man. I think it could do with a Mario logo on it somewhere. It's just red and blue, cool. But the colors that they chose, like in graphic design, when I was going through my diploma, they go, don't put red and blue close together because they vibrate, which it does. Like when you look at it, the colors kind of blur and they can hurt your eyes depending on what you're doing. But whatever. It could have just had like a Mario logo somewhere, but I get what they're doing. It looks awesome though. My brother pre-ordered it straight away because his Switch, he's had one since launch and he's got like 3 or 4 kids now and it's been dropped and he's got a crack on the case and one of the Joy-Cons aren't really working very well. So he's like, time for an upgrade. And it's a worthy one indeed. But yeah, look, if I didn't have one, I'd probably get that one because the only games I really buy on Switch now are Mario games. So yeah, really good.
Yeah. Well, so the Mario Switch is part of Nintendo's 35th birthday celebrations for Mario, coming out February 12th. Jamie, are you excited to not buy this Switch?
I'm trying with every bated breath not to buy the Switch. As I think I alluded to last week, it was the first week back, wasn't it? So I got another light over Christmas because I was missing Animal Crossing. Wanted to play through some Zelda and Hades. Hades wound up being one of my games of the year. And then sort of 3 days after having it, the battery wasn't charging. I had to take it back to the store. They didn't have any stock, so I was just like, I'll sit on the cash. And then this comes out this week, but also the rumors are spiraling, as we're probably going to touch on around a Switch Pro and what that's going to look like and its expected kind of announcement date. There's starting to be, code names uncovered and things. So it looks cool. I'm trying my damn hardest not to buy it. I previously had a very red aesthetic, as you boys will remember from when I was in Australia, but yes. that's cleaned up and gone more angelic since I become a father, and I now just live in white and grey, like monochrome variants. So yeah, trying hard not to buy it. It does look pretty sweet. I agree with Chunt. It could do with a Mario logo. Maybe on the back where the Switch logo could have just been a Mario's like emblem, but them's my thoughts.
Into it. Yeah, it looked nice. It's pretty. Like the colors. I like when, especially with like Xbox controls and stuff, with the Design Lab stuff, where you can just create more colors, give people more options. It's fun. So a Mario thing seems poised, and so does a Zelda one. We might talk about that then, Jamie, because I know you have some theories and hopes and dreams about Zelda's anniversary. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's been like, it's Zelda's 35th anniversary this year. Obviously, Mario had his last year. And just knowing what Nintendo did then, I'm quite curious to see where Nintendo go with the direction of the 30th anniversary. I actually think that there was some shenanigans and moving around going on in Nintendo at the back end of last year, because that Mario 3D Land and Bowser's Fury game that's coming out February, is it? Yeah, the same day as that console. I think that was probably intended for last year to be part of Mario's 35th anniversary, and I think that Age of Calamity, the Hyrule Warriors game, a Zelda game, was probably intended for February of this year. But something's inside of Nintendo has made that swap or change around, because, why release those games the way they have if something hadn't delayed the Mario game, maybe? Or maybe it was production on this Switch they wanted to put out, but either way. So I think that was probably how Zelda's 35th anniversary was intended to be kicked off, was with Hyrule Warriors and, fingers crossed, a Switch Pro announcement. Because I do honestly think that Breath of the Wild 2 will come out with that refreshed machine. Some of the concepts that are floating around for it are pretty awesome, which again, it's kind of a separate topic regarding the Zelda stuff, but I'd hope to see the sequel in April time, probably on the anniversary of Breath of the Wild. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it will be a Q4 release. I think it's going to come out Christmas time. I don't think we've just gone. We're still in a pandemic. I don't think there's any chance that that game's ready yet. I think it'll be later in the year. But as for their anniversary plans, I think like what they did with Mario and the 3D All Stars collection, I think you could maybe do a Zelda 3D All Star collection, and throw in Ocarina, an up-resed version like what they did with Mario 64. I'd then expect Twilight Princess to be there as well, probably a port of the GameCube version. And then Wind Waker, just because as much as I think everybody wants to see Skyward Sword, it relies on motion controls, and people who own a Switch Lite don't have motion controls. So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot there. I'd love a Skyward Sword remake, but unless they could, fix the motion control problem, they can't do it.
Mario Galaxy is on the Switch.
True, but it didn't rely on motion plus. It's the motion plus thing that they need to figure out. So them's my thoughts on what could be coming. The one that I really want out of it is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And yeah, having Ocarina of Time on the go would be awesome. It's my favorite game of all time. So, team for that. What about you, Chunt? Have you got some opinions?
The Ocarina of Time, if it does come out, will it be the 64 port or the 3DS remake?
It won't be the 3DS remake, but I'll tell you what it might be. It might be the GameCube version. Do you remember when it came out on GameCube, but the Master Quest version, they'd kind of upped the textures and stuff a little bit. There was some people saying, like, why not do the 3DS version? But because, again, it relies on 3DS technology, is it as easy to port as a, one-screen game? Because it did utilize the second screen, albeit for just inventory and controls. But what requires more work? Do they want it to be like the original N64 thing or the GameCube thing? But sorry, the 3DS thing. But I want something. It's my one of my favorite franchises of all time. 35 years old, nearly as old as me. Older than me. I'm nearly as old as it. It is as old as you, Chunt.
It's as old as me, yeah. I want Twilight Princess, man. It's the one that I've always wanted to play. Like, I've been saying it for ages that I missed it in the GameCube era and the Wii era and the Wii U when it was re-released, the HD one. And I've just never had a console of Nintendo's around that time. And now I do. I'd like to see it because I really want to play it. It's the only one that kind of really had the tone and the look that I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Like, it's a Zelda game that I'd probably want to play. So I'm thinking, crossing my fingers for that. But Skyward Sword as well, that kind of looked cool to me. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it seemed interesting to me. So, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan. I've only played like Link to the Past. I didn't finish it. Ocarina of Time, I never finished it. Breath of the Wild is the first Zelda game I ever finished. So, but I like that. So I want to go back and play some of the other ones, and hence why these collections should exist for people like me.
I think that the best one is outside of Breath of the Wild and Ocarina. Twilight Princess is my personal favorite outside of those two. It's very dark, like for a Zelda. It's not quite Majora's Mask dark, but it's the tone, like you said. Tonally, it's very depressing at times. And I didn't finish Skyward Sword, which is a reason that I want it. It's the only one I haven't finished. I finished Wind Waker, Ocarina, Breath of the Wild, and Twilight, but I've never finished Skyward Sword because it was such a departure. It was a real departure from Twilight Princess. So Twilight Princess was very adult in its tone and, yeah, dark and gritty and very Zelda, in keeping with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and then Twilight. And it kind of straddled that cartoony tone of Wind Waker, but with a new art style, and it didn't vibe with me very much. And the whole swinging a fucking motion control, I need an actual input method. I don't want to be swinging a Wii remote around. It really irked me. Yeah. But yeah, that's what's going on with The Legend of Zelda. Dan, have you got any? I don't even know you to be a Zelda fan.
Yeah, I understood that reference. No, I've never played a Zelda game. The problem is I haven't ever had anyone around me to ever try and sell me on a Zelda game either, so it just never came into play. I'm interested when we eventually do our episode on Breath of the Wild 2 as a downloading soon to talk about it to see if that can bring me to play it. Monique, my partner, has the Switch, so it is possible, but nice. People need to sell me on stuff, and we'll see how we go with that one.
I mean, you have a Switch in the house, though, right? you should absolutely.
Yeah, it's in the bedroom.
You should absolutely play Breath of the Wild. Like
Yeah.
you like
I know, but
Assassin's
that's what I
Creed
mean.
type games.
Yeah, I know, but I'm also we've talked about this. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game in a long time either.
Yeah.
So there's got to be I don't know. I'm just waiting for the one thing to make me go, oh, that's the hook. That's what's going to get me to go play it, rather than just being like, it's an amazing game. I'm like, I bet you it is, and then I move on.
Cool story, bro.
So you mentioned it before, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. So I'm just going to read my reactions, and then maybe you guys can talk about your reactions, because I literally just wrote them down as I watched through the trailer, the 7-minute trailer or whatever it was. So the first thing was the Mario cat made me think of Chunt.
Yeah.
Mario continually duplicating is terrifying. Like just seeing a bunch of Marios throwing water, fireballs, and just constantly saying Mario. That is more terrifying than the giant Mario you see later on. They have the snapshot mode, which I'm like, just call it photo mode. That's what it is. Like everyone uses that term. Bowser's Fury with cats again, because the cats popped up again. There's this fascination with the cats in this game, so I feel like Chunt's going to have a lot to say about this. I loved, there was one quote in the trailer that said, "The world changes because Bowser." That was the sentence, and I was like, okay, that's
sold.
And then the last one is Giga Cat Mario the fuck. I was like, they really went down on the Giga Cat. So that was my reactions. I don't have much to say. It might be a game I get for the missus, and we might be able to play that together because she likes Mario games. Mario games are the best for her. So, Chunt, we'll go back to you, sir.
Yeah.
What did you think?
You
suggested this one.
Yeah, I've been heavily looking forward to this game. It's one of those, I never had a Wii U, so I never got to play this one. I played the 3D Land on 3DS, which is a different game, but that's kind of the same. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. The Bowser's Fury thing, I'm hearing it's just like a small kind of expansion. You know, it doesn't take very long to finish, which is fine. I just want the main game, and this is just an add-on reason to give us, you know, other people to pick it up. So whatever. But that trailer, holy crap. I was like, yeah, this looks badass, man. It's like real dark and menacing, and this gigantic, you know, Godzilla Bowser in the ocean somewhere, and lightning storms and running around as a Mario in a golden cat suit, you know. It's like, yeah, sign me up. Like I already pre-ordered the amiibos for the cat Mario and the cat Peach, because I'm like, fuck yeah, I gotta have that. And but the shot that got me at the end was when he goes real huge and he's got like Super Saiyan 3 hair as a cat. And I'm like, fuck, yes, I need this game. You know, it's just like giant golden Super Saiyan Uzaru mode Mario. Like, sign me the hell up. You know, the rest of the game, cool, but I want to play that. But mate, look, I'm so keen on it. The whole Cat Mario thing, I love it. Don't know why. I have to have it. You know, I love cats, but even back when it was released on the Wii U, I was like, God damn it, it's the cat suit that I want to play as. Besides, the rest of the game looks fun as hell. So, yeah, I'm very excited for it. It's probably going to be the main game I'm going to play in February when it comes out. Like, I have a massive backlog, but that's going to it's going to happen. Yeah.
I put money on Chunt still playing more Animal Crossing than Mario. And I played it on...
Cat's in that too.
Played it on Wii U, and I played it on, you know, they did the 3DS one. Was it 3D World and then 3D Land? With the difference between the Wii U.
3D Land is on the 3DS, yeah.
Yeah, so I played both of them. They're some of my least favorite Mario games, so it's not something that I think I'd pay for again, to be perfectly honest. I said played it on the Wii U. The Bowser's Fury stuff looks interesting. It looks like a bit of a Odyssey, yeah, kind of crossed with the tone of the 3D games, which is again interesting. But yeah, I still didn't get through Odyssey, so this isn't something that I'd be rushing to kind of grab out the gates.
Oh man,
you know,
Odyssey
something
rocks.
that you'd maybe wait for in terms of a discount or something like that. I mean, those types of Mario games, I appreciate why people kind of enjoy them, but what I just like the platformers much more. you know, the whole the 3D platformers. Sorry, so the 64, the Sunshines, the Galaxies, like that type of Mario game resonates more with me. So I'm pleased it's coming for people. There's a lot of people in the same camp as you, Chunt, where they didn't have a Wii U, or they didn't play that game, and it is widely regarded as one of the best.
A lot of people didn't have a Wii U.
A lot of people didn't. So a lot of people didn't get to play the game, and I'm pleased that it's gonna finally make its way over, which a lot of the Wii U games have done. So many of the Wii U games that maybe were really good but didn't get played by anybody are now on the Switch, which is good because of the install base. Like, good to see.
There's not many left that have not moved over at this point, right?
No, there really isn't. And a lot of the top games that people did really like, think of, what's the Pokemon like fighter game? Can't remember what it's called now.
Pokken Tournament. That came over pretty much instantly. Mario 3D World's obviously come over. Breath of the Wild
was a launch title originally scheduled just for Wii U. Like, they've moved all of their big properties over there. And even some of the more like low key type of games that people really resonated with have been brought over as well. So the Switch is doing great.
Bayonetta,
like,
I think Bayonetta was on the way, or
Bayonetta 3 is on the way, isn't it? 2 was ported over. Yeah. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was ported over as well. Like, they basically went, look, we just need to move all of these games that we spent so much money on over to a platform where everybody can play them. So I'm pleased that they've done that at last. But yeah, Switch is doing good, guys.
Good week for Nintendo, but another good week it was for Lucasfilm, because Lucasfilm has come back. It's the comeback story. It's the Rocky of video games, because we used to have LucasArts all through the 90s. Everything was a LucasArts game, and then around 2005, I think they just shut shop, and that was it. But now we have Lucasfilm Games. So from StarWars.com, Lucasfilm Games is the official identity for all gaming titles from Lucasfilm, a name that encompasses a company with a rich catalog of video games and its eye toward the future. So following that announcement, that was on the 11th, I believe. Following that announcement, the day after, I'm taking this from Kotaku, Bethesda studio Machine Games is making a new Indiana Jones game. The publisher has announced in a short teaser on Twitter today, the game will feature an original story and be a collaboration between Machine Games and Lucasfilm Games, with Todd Howard as an executive producer on the project. Bethesda didn't reveal anything further about the game in its brief Twitter thread, and wrote, it will be some time before they have any more information to share about it. Following that day, I'm grabbing this from Wired, Lucasfilm Games announced that it is entering a partnership with Ubisoft to create an open-world Star Wars game. The title will be developed by Ubisoft's Massive Entertainment, who make the Division games, marking the first time that a company outside of EA has produced a Star Wars game since Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, ending nearly 8 years of exclusivity. This one, I'm going to start with you, Chun, and specifically about the Indiana Jones game. What was your thoughts that morning we woke up to that news?
I never expected that to happen. It was just, what the hell? Like, a lot of people were thinking the same of, like, is Indiana Jones still relevant today? I mean, I think he is. I mean, it's a family household name, maybe not to the younger generations, but there's still those of us who know who he is. And would like to forget the Crystal Skull, but this isn't new. This is like back in the original Xbox, they had a exclusive, or a timed exclusive game at least, for Indiana Jones game back then. And take it for what it is. If you look at it now, it's probably not as good, but that was a big deal back then. And it eventually came over to PC and PS2 as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens here with the Bethesda deal, where I don't think Indiana Jones is going to be exclusive. It'll be timed, if anything, just like back in the day. Get excited, yeah, I guess. Like, I'm not a massive Indiana Jones fan, but cool. It still has a fan base. There's the people out there still appreciate it. And I hope it's going to be something that kind of shows all that's come after, of like, this is the guy that started your Tomb Raiders and your Uncharted's. Like, Lara and Drake wouldn't be around without Indiana. And I want to see that happen, like, to take the crown back. And just because it's Indiana Jones, not because of Xbox, but just Indiana Jones. You know, I'm sure there's other pulp characters that came before him, but whatever. Indiana Jones in those movies are what made that kind of genre and that kind of character, you know, popular around the world. So yeah, in that regard, it's exciting. Cool. I have some other thoughts on the LucasArts stuff that we'll go into later. But
yeah, we'll move on to that shortly. But Jamie, I just want to ask you, Machine Games as a match for an Indiana Jones game, was that surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean,
being obviously coming from the Wolfenstein,
you've got to look at what they've done previously. I mean, the Wolfenstein games have all been very, very well received, but you know, by the same logic, they're not really an Indiana Jones game, are they? So they're very, you know, Nazi focused and murder and.
So is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, true, true. In there's some thematic similarities, but what there isn't is similarities in the game type, which weird. But like we were talking about, you can't disregard a developer being good enough or capable of producing a different type of game. You just got to look at what Guerrilla did, leaving Killzone to make Horizon, and Horizon's, you know, one of the RPGs of the decade. Both in terms of its storytelling and its gameplay. So what stops Machine Games from doing something similar? Bethesda have obviously got confidence in them, more so than their other studios, because this is quite a high-profile property, and it's going to them. So big win for them. Let's judge them when they've made it. It'll either be shit or it'll be great.
Yep.
I have a heap of questions. I think most of them I'll save for when we do a longer episode on it specifically, because there are certain things, you know, I'm glad you mentioned Horizon, because it was a thing then that when they went to start making Horizon, so many people left that studio because they went to Guerrilla to make first person shooters, because that's what they did, just like Machine Games does. So I'm curious as to if they make an Indiana Jones, if they go a third person action type game, will the same thing happen? Will the people stay there? But I found it very exciting because I also like when studios try different things, and this is a different thing. Even though I tried to make some comparisons just before, it's very different for them, and it's the perfect type of game that they for Microsoft's and for Bethesda to spend 2-3 years. Currently the next Indiana Jones movie is scheduled for 2022. That'll probably get pushed. So I think the movie and this game will be very close together. But yeah, I wait for a video to talk about exactly where we think the game takes place and like who's going to voice it, stuff like that. But the other big one, the Ubisoft open world single player game. That's just a big fuck you to EA. Chad, give me your thoughts on that.
Hallelujah and bangarang. Like, let's bring it on. My God. I can't imagine that they would be I mean, they're announcing this ahead of time, obviously, because their contract hasn't come up yet. It's not ended. And they're already like, yep, let's get other people on it. You know, let's start getting Star Wars properties and games out there because you guys have shat the bed time over, hand over fist, you know? So good. I can't wait to have more options. EA don't like them, just as a company as they are, not the people that actually build the games. Yeah, Ubisoft, they're the go-to for this open world kind of stuff. And if it's anything like The Division or Assassin's Creed or, you know, what you can expect from all their kind of cookie-cutter games, like if it's just like that but with a Star Wars skin over it, cool. They always do high-quality stuff when it's not broken, you know, so I'm apprehensive, but Ubisoft are fucked anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm kind of, you know, two minds, like, yeah, that's cool, but fucking Ubisoft. All right, no worries. But if it gets more games out there, like LucasArts back in the day were pumping them out, and it was like a golden era to be a Star Wars fan back then. And for the Star Wars fans, I hope that comes back. And if this is what it is, and how it's going to be for them, then I'm all for it in that regard. Let's just ignore the company side, whatever. But yep, I've got other thoughts on the LucasArts or Lucasfilm Games, whatever they're calling it now, on what I'd like to see from them. But whatever.
We'll talk about it. This is what we do.
Yeah. Well, look, I want to see Lucasfilm Games bring back some of their older properties. Like I enjoyed. Now that I've played it, now that I can on Xbox, they've got Day of the Tentacle and Full Throttle. Full Throttle is one of my all-time favorite LucasArts games, and you've got all the other like Dark Forces and stuff like that, and Jedi. What are they called? Jedi Temple or something? Jedi Knight 1 and 2, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Those are like fan favorites, and I've played them back in the day, and all that kind of stuff. And those kept coming, the TIE Fighters games, and man, I'd like to see more of that come back. And it sounds like EA has tried to do that in the last handful of years. So they've pumped out Fallen Order, Squadron, and just shat the bed with Battlefront, and that's about it. But the Dig is a point-and-click adventure game like Day of the Tentacle and Full Throttle, where nobody really talks about it, and I don't know why it's not on anything except you can get it on Steam, but I want it either remade because I love that game, or at least remastered or something for current consoles. I don't know if anyone that watches this is going to know or remember what the hell the Dig is, but it's a real science fiction adventure point and click. And I loved it, and it's stuck in my memory for ages, and I'd like to see it brought back somehow. And if Lucasfilm's Games is going to be anything like LucasArts was, I want to see more of that, like adventure games or point and click adventure games or story based games. Like that's what I think of with LucasArts when I see the logo, and I remember the logo in front of games and stuff that I used to play. That's my nostalgia for that, and that's obviously what they're doing with this name. They're playing on that big time. So that's where my hope lies in this. Who knows if that's going to happen, but that's all I'll say.
Well, Jamie, going from Machine Games, trying something different, massive entertainment, going from the Division to Star Wars, that's a bit of a jump too, yeah?
It's a little bit of a jump, but I actually think it'll work. I think I could quite easily see the Division as a property. It's a lot of it translating well over to a Star Wars game. I think they'll be making the Bounty Hunter game. Just based off the type of storytelling in the Division. They could be, visiting certain sectors of the Star Wars galaxy that are, overran by crime syndicates, and kind of, do you know what? It might even be a Mandalorian game. Like there's strong case for that with Ubisoft. They do have the ability to churn out games quickly. I'm confident in them. I think Massive have got one of the best engines in the industry. Their Snowdrop is theirs, isn't it? Yeah, Slipstream's Xbox Snowdrop engine is gorgeous. Like really, really good. If you watch some of like the behind the scenes stuff of what Massive have done with that engine, like it's super interesting the way that it lights, and they can do sort of very dense particle lighting on really small objects. So you think like space, like stars and stuff. Like it's gonna look phenomenal. Every faith in Massive doing a good Star Wars game. Just to touch on Chunt's point of the LucasArts thing, you're not getting a LucasArts type game. I think it's very specifically called Lucasfilm Games for a reason. I think it's because they're going to play on the Lucasfilm properties. And the EA
just
stuff.
Let me have it.
Just to, like, in a way, they shat the bed with Battlefront. The rest of the Star Wars properties that they've put out have been good. Like, it just took them too long to get there. They signed a decade deal, and it took them till the 7th year of that agreement to put out a good Star Wars game. So yeah, that's the Lucasfilm stuff. But don't have any qualms with Massive getting a shot at Star Wars. They can't do any worse. That's for damn sure. And I think going forward, Lucasfilm Games will work with anyone and everyone. I think you will see Ubisoft put a Star Wars game out. You'll see EA keep putting Star Wars games out. The only one I maybe don't think you see put one out is Activision. But I think smaller indie studios might get chances at making some of those smaller games. Look at like a Double Fine. Like, all right, they're under the Xbox umbrella now, but what's to stop Double Fine doing a traditional Lucas Arts point and click type game in the Star Wars or Indiana Jones universe or one of their other properties? Like, I think it's good news. I think all of those IPs are going to be coming back in a really good way, a really strong way. And Star Wars, the more people that can, I think shows like The Mandalorian and things like, they show that once you bring in people that are not necessarily associated with that type of world or that type of universe, that if you give them the reins and have a clear vision, you can make something awesome. And why can that not be true of the video games?
Oh,
well, they did mention. Oh, go for it.
Sorry, one more thing before I forget, because it just came up when Jamie was talking. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis is an absolute classic. Everyone should play it. It's another point and click game by LucasArts. My God, there's so many quotable moments in that thing. Like, me and my mates still quote that game to this day. I have to put it out there in case people know about it or don't know about it. You know, I want that to come back to Xbox. It's on Steam, but you know, I don't want to play PC games. But Double Fine put out Full Throttle and the Tentacle on Xbox when they came in. So I'm just holding my hope, Jamie. It's going to happen.
Crossing the fingers.
Well, they did mention in their announcement that they're treating this announcement as their the Big Bang announcement, where they basically put out an open call to all developers. Like, if you have an idea for a Star Wars game, come to us and pitch it, and we'll work with you to see if we can get something made. So I think they are looking for big budget, small budget, and everywhere in between. You know, you could totally see like a
nice. No worries, Jamie.
You could totally see a like a Mike Bithell, like you know, he made the John Wick game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, you could totally see him make like a small Star Wars story in that universe and everything. What I will do,
Origins, just putting it out there for all the millions of Qui-Gon Jinn fans out there.
Horror, we have a final topic. If you want to bring up Qui-Gon in our final topic, that's to your discretion. If you want to bring that up. But I have a little actual spiel, which is probably good that Jamie's just left us, because I can go on this nice little spiel. So over the break, I actually read a book, which is, you know, I know we talk about video games here, but I read a book, and it's Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime. So it's Bob Iger, who people don't know, was the CEO of Disney from 2005 to last year, when he stepped down. And he's the guy that orchestrated buying Pixar, buying Marvel, and buying Lucasfilm. And in the book, in the Star Wars section, in the Lucasfilm section, they basically talk about how they had no idea how much money to offer George Lucas at the time, because they just weren't sure what Lucasfilm had, because everything was under Lucas. And, you know, when they bought Pixar, they were bringing in talent, and they were bringing in like Steve Jobs and John Lasseter when they did that. And then when they brought Marvel in, they had Kevin Feige and all his producers under him making the movies, and they had movies coming out, so they knew what was coming and they could price and buy it accordingly. Whereas Lucasfilm had like Industrial Light and Magic, they had a lot of these tech departments, but they didn't have any talent. Even Kathleen Kennedy was brought in the 11th hour just before they bought them, just so George could pass on to her to take control of it. So it was a really weird thing. All it mentions is that George Lucas didn't want to sell for less than Marvel. That was his thing, and eventually they did. But part of that was Disney were actually very nervous, because they knew if they bought them for that $4 billion that they needed to make 3 movies in 6 years, so 2015, 17, 19, to try and recoup money. And I think that's where the EA deal came into play, because they knew that EA would pay all this money and they could get, it's basically a quick buck to try and recoup some of the investment pretty much off the top.
Right.
And that's why you get that exclusivity deal. And it is interesting that they're announcing these games, because these games will take a couple of years to come out. And I wonder if they're just getting ready, so once that exclusivity deal is done, they can release the games and they're there. So anyway, I read a book, so that was nice.
Oh, that's good.
But I think the other thing that led to this Lucasfilm Games, was when Marvel games became a thing in 2015, and they started doing the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Spider-Man. What else have they done? They did the Marvel vs. Capcom. And I think they realized they can get a bigger slice of the pie by just working with other studios and having putting more money into it, therefore getting more money back, rather than just getting a once-off payment from EA and getting smaller margins.
Yeah.
So I think that has always kind of been where they're leading, but they just haven't done anything. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I think it's good stuff. I hope they create some new stuff as well, but it's exciting to see Indiana Jones and more Star Wars games.
It's huge, man.
Yeah, huge deal. All right, so last and final topic. I asked you boys, in the spirit of this, in my fluffy topic, we want to talk about what game we want Lucasfilm Games to make, what type of game, what studio, thoughts and ideas. Jamie, are you right to go first?
Yes. What do I want to see them make? I want a spiritual successor to KOTOR. I want like a massive open world Star Wars game where you get to build out your own Jedi or Sith. Let's have a morality system in it. Let's choose which way you want to navigate the universe. And I want it to progress into, as much as you guys hate them, I think it'd be a great idea for a live service. Something that does start with a big, and you know what? There's nothing saying that this isn't what Massive could be working on.
Yeah.
They've done the Division, they've done the live service, they know how to do it, they know how to support it, they've got the tech. Whether they could swing lightsabers, I mean, they're good at shooting, but the shooting is one of the weaker parts of the Division. But the loot play, the loot play, the gameplay, and the world building they're very good at. So that could be what they're doing. Have it so that you've got a really solid opening campaign, breeze through that, and a steady stream of content. Every 3 months, nice little expansion. Something that can be console focused and more mass appealing than it's the Old Republic, isn't it? That's the Star Wars PC MMO. So not quite as deep as that, but the way that they have had their cadence with releases, every year that game got an expansion, and every year those expansions got better and better and better. There's definitely a market for something like that in the Star Wars world that appeals to console players and is more adoptable and isn't an MMO, but is that kind of pseudo MMO that Bungie consistently call Destiny. It's like an action MMORPG that's like not as involved, not as deep. Like, I'd love to just run around customizing my own Force user and making moral choices around the galaxy that kind of impact the greater world. Bring everybody in for the ride. If everybody's doing that, you can have your community events. It's like, oh, does the dark side win? Does the light side win? Those events kind of lead to a decision. If the dark side won, the world changes in this way, and if the light side won, it changes in this way. And build your storytelling off of events like that. I can't believe that people keep getting it wrong. The live service model is easy when you sit and talk about it and you go, this is what it needs to do and achieve, but then for some reason no one can do it. So maybe the Star Wars IP can do something for it. I think I'd want that, and to be more game centric with it. Third person action. Like, I don't think it'll work as a first person game. So yeah, maybe, let's Massive are making that. There we go. Massive are making a pseudo MMO RPG where you are a Force user and you tell your own story. That's my game that I want.
I feel like all I feel like all these predictions are going to really emulate the type of players that we are. I feel, Chunt, are we getting a Dig Qui-Gon crossover game? Is that what we're getting from you?
If that's what it's going to be, I'll take it. But I want, look, anytime someone talks about Star Wars, I'm the first and probably only person in the room that's like, Qui-Gon Jinn is the man. He's the guy. The whole Skywalker stuff wouldn't have happened without him. You know, he's the Jedi that's like, I will abide by the council, but behind their back, I'm going to do what the hell I'm going to do. You know, he followed the line. You know, he didn't go full Jedi and like become blind. He didn't even go down the dark side. He was like, I am who I am, and I'm going to do what I believe. I love that character, and I want to see it expanded. And if that means it's going to be a point-and-click game, or like he's not an action guy. He's more kind of calm and collected and does what he needs to do. I could see an adventure point and click game. Like if you reference some of the Legends material that's no longer canon anymore. Like Qui-Gon had a lot of stories out there, but he has a lot of history that's been written even before he met Obi-Wan. You know, and he had a wife and a partner, and that was like banned by the Jedi. Like you can't do that because emotions are dangerous, lead to the dark side and all that kind of crap. I just think he's a very compelling character that could be very exciting in a game, depending on the mode it is. I can't pinpoint exactly what game type I'd like for it though, because it could be anything. If I really wanted it, in my kind of thing that I would play is something like a third-person action game. You know, we don't get a lot of them. Like the Jedi Fallen Order, I'm keen to finally get to because it's like, yes, more of that, please. You know, not like a God of War over the top, but just like a third-person adventure game like Uncharted or something, but Star Wars and Qui-Gon. Maybe in his youth when he's coming up the ranks. But yeah, it's Qui-Gon every day. I couldn't even pinpoint a studio for you because who out there is left? You can just rattle off some of the bigger names and be like, yeah, that big name studio. As I keep saying, like when we answered this kind of question last time, I'd like to see another studio that no one's heard of, or just like a smaller studio that needs a break. Like, they're not around anymore, but Double Helix, like they're not really doing their thing anymore, but they did a Green Lantern game based on the movie, and it's surprisingly good. I've played through it like 4 times, and it's like a beat 'em up God of War type Green Lantern game where you're traveling across the Green Lantern universe, like planets and stuff.
But is Ryan
dealing
Reynolds
with different factions? Yeah, the one with Ryan Reynolds in it, and it's surprisingly a good, AA game. I'll say that. Something like that, I'd like to say. If I could go back in time and pick someone, I'd go Double Helix. Here you go, try it, because they went on to do Killer Instinct, the launch title on Xbox, in a year, and with basically no money, so they can do it, and they've gone over to Iron Galaxy and stuff now, and the Double Helix are owned by Amazon now, so it's the same people aren't there, but something like that. That's the scenario that I want. A relatively unknown studio makes a Qui-Gon game because no one knows about Qui-Gon but me. Done. End off.
I'd just like to point out, Jamie, I really appreciate that you got the green lightsaber behind you. With the PlayStation 5 being the biggest handle of a lightsaber ever.
100%.
All right, so my game, the problem with the first games that I thought of are essentially games that were in development that have just died. So Star Wars 1313, and then the Amy Hanging game from the Dead Space guys. I can't remember their name. Yeah, thank you. So it's really sad that those are the games that have just died and gone. And I'm like, those are the games that I kind of wanted out of Star Wars. The game I'm thinking of like an action stealth game made by Hangar 13, who did the Mafia games. And I'm thinking of it as like, imagine it's like a wide linear type game. So you're following a story and you're a thief. One of the things I love about The Mandalorian, without getting too much into spoilers, but the whole idea is that The Mandalorian has his own little world that he lives in, And while in the second season, while there is a Jedi in the season, it's like that's not the focus. Like he stands on his own. The characters he meets and interacts with are in his own, but there are these mythological people out there that are just on the periphery, like they're not part of the story type thing. And I can imagine like an action stealth game where you're like a thief and you have gadgets, you're breaking into places, and throughout the game you might run into some Jedi or stuff like that, but they're not the focus. And I'm just thinking, like, imagine, early on in the game, you start on a world like Tatooine, right? Like there's less people there. That's kind of your tutorial. You learn how to steal things, and then slowly you go to another planet that's a little more dense. So like think of like Naboo. So like there's the city, but then there's the outskirts. You're in with the forests and things like that, and so starts to get a little more chaotic, and then eventually going through different worlds, and you finish on something like Coruscant, and suddenly there's people everywhere, and you suddenly have verticality, not just horizontal, and all this different stuff. And I think that would be a really cool game. So keep it linear, but sort of like Metal Gear Solid 5 was, where you went into a kind of an open map, and then you would leave it at any time you needed to, and do the missions throughout it. I think that,
nice.
that would be my pitch if I was walking into Lucasfilm Games to make,
Nice. I play it.
But if you guys don't have anything more to add, we'll start wrapping it up.
Don't.
No.
That's a no.
Stop me. Just stop me.
Thanks for
stop me
joining
buying
me
that Switch. That's all I need to do this week.
Just buy it, Jamie.
I was going to say go to bed, but we are in very different time zones right now. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Episode 42, boys. Really good episode. A lot of good news.
Yes.
I really liked it. So everyone, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Come here again next week for another episode where Jamie will be in the host chair again. And thanks for joining us. We like your company.
Cheers.
Yes.
Bye.
Me too.
Wash those fucking hands.